Hey there, horror fans! David Howard Thornton here, Art the Clown from the movies Terrifier and the upcoming Terrifier 2. And you're watching the Astronomicon YouTube channel. If you like what you see, drop a like and subscribe. Kill you later.
We are here today. My name is Chuck Reeves. I am joined here by the Astronomicon champ himself, Justin Pruitt.
Yes, sir.
And of course, joining us, a very special guest for this episode. His name is David Howard Thornton. You may know him as the terrifying Art the Clown. Hold on, I got the round of applause button this time.
You have a button. Look at that. Very good.
So we get a little round of applause for him. Thank you for taking some time out of your quarantine day to join me and Dustin here. I know the last time we spoke was back at Astronomicon in February.
Probably the last time we spoke too.
Yeah.
Probably
seems like
one
a
of
different
the
time.
That's what I was gonna say, is like Astronomicon was the last regular ass thing to go down for a lot of people prior to all this COVID nonsense.
I think I had one con the weekend.
If we only knew.
And everything else got canceled right after that. So
Yeah.
I'm like glad
I did like one other convention in I think Pittsburgh right before all this happened, like a week or two before. So it's just like, wow.
Well, do you remember anything from Astronomicon? We tend to take some pride in Astronomicon being a different type of convention. Did you happen to notice that this year during your first visit? Do you have any particular memories, something you might remember that's only happening at Astronomicon? Did he freeze up?
Yeah.
Well, I got my very first. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're here. I got you.
I can hear you. Okay, you're back.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I got you.
Okay, that's a good thing. Who knows? Gotta love technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my very first hockey jersey, so that was a new thing for me. So it's like, wow.
The custom Art the Clown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. We made a few
very
custom
chic
jerseys that year, but that one was by far one of the coolest, most sought after.
Yeah, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I got it in my room.
The Astronomiconers, they love their jerseys, man. I definitely have mine hanging up in the other room, and those Art the Clown ones were quite rare. I know people were on the hunt for those, for the chop top ones. So you got your first jersey. Anything else? Did any of our con goers scare you? I know some of us can be a little bit intense,
to say the least.
Oh no, I didn't. No one scared me, so that's a good thing.
Well, that's good.
I'm from Alabama. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. So.
Well, that's a great.
Go ahead.
That's a great segue. You know, before you were Art the Clown, before you ever stepped foot on a stage, you were just a hit kid growing up in the shadow of Tranquility Base there in Huntsville, Alabama, surrounded by teachers and engineers and astronauts.
You don't think of that when you think of Alabama.
You don't, but I went to space camp when I was about 9 years old, so I spent a little bit of time in Huntsville. How did you go from, such an intellectual and highly educated background to deciding to make it to the stage after you had already even put so much work in towards your own academic achievement?
Yeah, it was weird because I got my degree in elementary education. I come from a family of teachers, like 4 generations of teachers and engineers in my family. So that was quite a different career path for me. But it was because I grew up doing theater my whole entire life. I loved doing it, but I was trying to be very practical about what I want to do with my life. Because I was like, well, acting, there's not necessarily a stable career path in that, but teaching, at least I will have a steady income every year and I can still do acting on the side. So I was trying to be pragmatic. And then my mother unfortunately passed away from cancer back when I was in college, during one of my final years in college, and that kind of like threw a whole different perspective at me about life and everything like that. Just like, I realized like life's too short not to do what you really want to do with your life. And so I really thought about it hard. And I realized one day when I was in my classroom reading stories to my kids and doing all the fun voices and stuff like that, I was getting more fulfillment out of entertaining my students rather than teaching them. And I was like, well, this is what I need to do with my life. I'm supposed to be an entertainer. This is what I feel like I'm put on this earth to do. So why not do this? Why not give it a shot? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least I tried.
Yeah, that's all you need to do is try.
Well, that's a super brave attitude to have, to grow up in this situation where you had this love for this art, but you also had this intellectual cap that you yourself had put on it, this pragmatism, and that you were able to remove said cap and let that dream overflow and commence your whole life is amazing. So you get these theater aspirations, Broadway aspirations, you make the move to New York. How does that happen? How does that go down? How do you enjoy that? Is it stereotypical? Did you get mugged?
Oh, no, never got mugged. That was a funny thing, too, growing up in Alabama. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to get mugged up there. You don't go walking around at night, especially in Harlem or something like that. I'm going to be fine. I've walked around, like, streets of New York at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I felt totally fine. And there are areas in my hometown that I felt less safe in. So I was just like, it's a stereotype. It's like, does it happen? Yeah, sure, from time to time. But,
it happens everywhere.
It's like you live in a city, and yeah, it happens everywhere. So it's just like you hear about it more because of New York City, and it's 9 million people living here. So of course it's bound to happen, but you can't live with that kind of fear.
And it's the stereotypical story, whether it's New York or LA, you're fresh-faced, green as the front yard actor hops off the bus. It's always the bus. It can't be the plane. It can't be the train. It's always got to be the bus.
Yeah.
You got one bag, and then immediately they lose everything. So it's a stereotypical kind of story. But it seems like your transition to New York was fairly smooth. Yeah. You started booking gigs right away. You brought up voices.
Yeah, I did.
You brought up voices. You do over 200 reportedly.
Wow.
I do over 200 voices. Yeah,
and 25 different accents.
Yeah, it's this weird skill set that I have. I can't catch a ball to save my life, but this is what I can do. So it's like I look at it this way: everybody has certain things that they can do, and this is what I can do. So I'm trying to capitalize on it.
I ain't mad at that. Do you have character names for each voice? Do you have?
Yeah. Most of them are actual characters, so it's just like Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. So it's just like
good.
And then I sometimes have just done variations and made up my own voices off of them, but those are usually characters I play in something. So it's like, oh, well, that's that character now. So
good. I do that a little bit too, but it's more just the voices in the head coming out.
And they all sound the same, except I'm sure just one's meaner.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly. Hey, whatever works.
Do you have any favorite voice actors from history? Like, are you a Mel Blanc guy?
Oh God, yes. Huge Mel Blanc hole. Huge Dawes Butler. Of course, Rob Paulson and Mark Hamill. Gosh, there's so many. Maurice LaMarche, Billy West. I could go on and on and on.
Right. Of the great ones, there's many. There's too many.
I'm a Hank Azaria guy, personally.
Oh, Hank Azaria, of course, yeah. You even have like June Foray, who was up until the day she died, she was still doing voiceover work, which was amazing. She was like late 80s, early 90s when she passed away.
Yeah.
So you've got no actual formal training, whether that be in theater, whether that be in clowning, whether that be in voice acting.
Right. I didn't go to college for it, but I took classes from time to time in the city and stuff like that. But not, You're quite
the maestro with your facial expressions and your body contortion. And I know that you were the understudy for the great Icelandic clown Stefan Karl, who's famous from the show Lazy Town. For any of my parents out there who may be stuck watching that weird stuff, I know he taught you a lot while you were on the road with him.
Yeah. He was a great, I would say a great mentor, because I grew up doing a lot of physical comedy because I was inspired by the great physical comedians from a film, like, Keaton, Chaplin, Harpo Marx, Jim Carrey, Doug Jones, Rowan Atkins, all those guys. I learned so much from watching them. Oh yeah, they're all fantastic, and I modeled a lot what I did off of what they did, but I never had anybody that could help me really fine tune all of those skills. And when I understudied with Stefan, he really was able to take me aside. I'm like, okay, you're great at what you're doing this, but here, let me tweak some things with you, and this is going to make it that much better. And it's fantastic. You see a lot of Stefan in my performance of art, I would say.
Yeah, I actually heard that one of the things you would do if you ever got hung up inspirationally in your performance of art is you would actually go to a WWSD place of what would Stefan do. Yep. And I found that to be quite interesting, because for me it would be grow a big old chin and disturb the children.
Yes. Well, art does have that big old chin, so that does help.
It does.
Well, those skills and influences really made Art the Clown one of the most iconic characters in modern horror, combining the childlike wonder of, like you said, like a Mr. Bean or a Buster Keaton with the obscenity of an Ed Gein. Now, how does somebody who's able to function amongst normal people straddle that line? Like, this can't be a method type of thing. How do you straddle that line between that childlike connection to the audience and that, hey bro, I'm gonna cut you in half and I'm gonna take a selfie with your guts?
I don't know how I do it. It's just something I can do. I guess it's just like, I guess it's because for a long time I've been a huge fan of the Joker, and Joker has a lot of those kind of qualities to him as well. He has that gleefulness, but he also has that maliciousness to him, and I love that. It's a fun juxtaposition of those two type of mentalities. It's just. I guess I can just pull it off. Maybe I'm just a little bit like that myself. I've always been a little bit, very mischievous trickster and stuff like that too. So
I knew to keep my eye on you at Astro.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's definitely like it's a weird juxtaposition. I think it's one of the things that makes the character great and so memorable, is that in one moment you can have this very funny, very poignant, damn near sentimental moment with a clown, and then the next moment just be running for the hills, climbing underneath the blankets, trying to hide from it. And Terrifier 1, I mean, damn near a cult hit. Terrifier 2 and 3 coming down the pipeline, albeit now with a COVID affected pipeline. Is there anything you can tell us about it? Have you guys been able to work through the quarantine situation?
Well, we were almost finished filming when we had to go into quarantine. Luckily, we filmed our biggest, hardest, most complicated scene to film in the movie right before the quarantine happened. So we lucked out there, because that was the scene we were all stressing about. And it went off beautifully. I can't wait for everybody to see this scene. It's insane. It took about a week to film this scene, and there's so much going on in it. So much stunt work going on, just a lot of just made. Glad we got that in the can. So everything we have to film from now on is going to be easy. I mean, it's just a few little kills here or there that I have to finish up. Like, if some of them, I've already started 2 of these kill scenes, but we have to now we're bringing in the prosthetic work that we have to add into it. So because we had to take the time to do that. So that's a good thing. It's like this quarantine has given Damien a time to actually make these prosthetics, and and he's also had time to sit there and edit everything we've already filmed, which is the big chunk of the film. He's already been editing and putting the music in and all the sound effects. So it's so whenever we can finally get out of this stupid lockdown, we can just plug all the new scenes in, and so we hope to get it out as soon as possible. We've been hoping for a fall release, but who knows how that's going to be affected now, because we don't even know when we're going to be able to get back to set. But we're going to try to get it out as soon as we can, because we want this thing out as soon as possible too, because we're so excited about everybody seeing this thing.
Oh, I think we're all excited.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there are some new things coming, but you're returning clearly as Art the Clown. I know that you guys from the Sleepaway Camp film, you guys got Felissa Rose in your film as well. She's making her first appearance, and then you have a new female lead that you talked a little bit about in Astro. She has since been fully introduced. You want to talk a little bit about her, because I know you guys are really excited about her and her character.
Oh, Lauren Lavera, she's our new the new Scream Queen, I would say. I mean, she is something else. I just love her as a person, and I love her character in the film too, because she's not your typical final girl, which is, you know, very weak. You know, like some of them are a little bit weak-willed, and they're like the reluctant hero. She is a reluctant hero in a way, but she's like one of these badass characters too. And her character is one of those kind of characters I think a lot of people can relate with, especially those that are in the convention scene, because she's a cosplayer as well, which is kind of fun. I guess I can reveal that because that doesn't spoil anything. But, you know, it's just like she makes her own costumes and stuff like that. So she's a really kick-ass character. It's like we have some... Well, I will say the climax of the film between the two of us is just balls to the wall, just craziness. And she has a lot of fight training experience as well. She was actually in Iron Fist on Netflix. And so she's
that Marvel pedigree. That's not a bad pedigree.
Oh yeah. She's I can't wait for you guys to see what she brings to this, because that's the thing. It's like that was one thing Damien and I always talked about. It's like, who's going to be able to go up against Art the Clown? Who's going to be his Laurie Strode? Who's going to be his Nancy? Who's going to be his gosh, totally blanking right now, but you know what I mean. It's just like he has to have that worthy adversary. He needs the Batman to his Joker, and it's got to be someone that can go toe to toe with him, because, you know, he's a batshit crazy character. You got to have someone that's, you know, not meek to go up against him. So that's what I love about her character. She's not a meek character at all. She's a fun character. She's got a lot of sass. She's got a lot of edge to her. Just kick-ass woman. So I can't wait for everybody to be introduced to her, because there's a lot of potential there.
Well, yeah, because Terrifier 1, no offense to Art, was kind of one-sided when it came to the violence. There wasn't really a whole lot of get back on the part of any of your victims, whether they survived or not. I know you guys had planned for the first trailer for Terrifier 2 to be dropped during Texas Frightmare weekend. Clearly, that plan has changed. You said he's editing. Are we due to get a trailer at any point?
That's what he's hoping. He's hoping to get at least a teaser trailer out to you guys sometime soon. I've already gotten to see some of the footage that he's thinking of putting into it, and it looks great. So yeah, cool. You know, I think it should be coming out soon.
Yeah. Well, we had a picture of you in the quote unquote new Terrifier 2 get up. That did quite well on your YouTube. Official set photos of Art the Clown released last week. Once again, put Art the Clown in the forefront. Kind of had a little bit of trending, definitely in the horror community going. And that trailer is definitely probably going to be one of those break the internet, or at least the horror community type moments, because people have been waiting to see what else, you know, you guys could pull off with this story. Now, the COVID-19 kind of screwed the pooch every place and for everybody.
Oh, everybody.
Now, I know that you're strictly an actor on this project, but there been any talks on how this may affect the actual release? We're seeing a current AMC Universal spat. The theaters, the future, of a lot of theaters seems to be in question. And the first Terrifier, you know, its success came from VOD pretty much anyway. Yeah. So has there been any discussion as to whether you're even going to try a theatrical release, stick to VOD?
I need to talk to Damien about that, but I'm like, who knows? I'm like, I don't think this will hurt us necessarily as much as it's hurting, you know, a lot of these, you know, places they're doing the big studio releases and stuff like that, because, you know, we already have the experience of just releasing on video demand and on, you know, Blu-ray and DVD. So yeah, I think it's going to be okay for us. I'm like, you see what happened with the Trolls movie that just recently released, and they did it on
$100 million.
$100 million. I'm like, well, that's a good sign. It's a very good sign. And like, now, technically, we would love to release in theaters because these are the type of movies, horror movies especially, horror movies and comedies are the type of movies that really should be seen with a big group of people in a theater. That you have that camaraderie there, that group experience, which makes it so much more fun. Yeah. So that's what I would hate to lose out on, because especially a lot of the stuff we're doing in Terrifier 2, I would love to see how a huge crowd reacts to this stuff. It's also, well, just insane. But at the same time, I don't think we would be necessarily hurt doing another video on demand release. You got to go where you can. So
now there's another option these days, it seems, where filmmakers and the stars are taking the film out themselves and exhibiting it with like Q&As and special events to create a more unique cinematic experience. Given your stage background, I don't think it's out of the question that you show up on stage as Art during a 40-something night run of playing this movie in different cities, and you and him taking totally questions convention like style. Kevin Smith had a lot of success with his Jay and Silent Bob reboot film, doing it that exact same way. And given the current, popularity to the conventions, you clearly see it yourself. The in-costume photo ops being popular. I'm sure if you brought this to different cities as a road show, that this would go off gangbusters, and you guys would do more than fine. And Art, as a character, could get some FaceTime with even more and more of his fans out there, which I'm sure they'd love.
It could happen. Who knows? Because we did that some with Terrifier as well. We would do like different releases all over, and sometimes I was able to go to them and do talkbacks and stuff like that. And those always did very well. So who knows? Who knows? We're at this point we're willing to look at all options, I think. But this is, of course, it's all out of my control. This is all up to Damien and the producers and the production department.
Well, unless you refuse to put the costume on every night.
There you go. You are Art.
Right.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Having such success. Having such success with such a role so early. Like, do you feel like you've maybe, I don't even like to use the word peaked, because that's a terrible way of putting it. But do you think you've created a harder path for yourself going forward to create another iconic character?
I really don't think so, because the good thing about Art is he's it's a different type of character anyway. He's silent too, so it's like I'm a character actor, and it's like you look at Doug Jones, who's played so many type of roles, and he's created so many great roles, and he keeps on just creating even new roles and getting popular for those. Same thing with Bill Moseley. You have there's so many great ones, like Gary Sinise. He's great at that kind of stuff too.
I always go back to like Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart.
I'm like, so it's just like, that's the thing about being a character actor. You can play so many different type of roles, and you don't really get pigeonholed in that one role that way. So I'm like, but if that does happen, so be it. I'm like, he's a fun character, and if I'm just known for playing Art, that's what I'm known for. I was like, it hasn't really hurt Robert Englund any.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess being an icon is not a bad spot to be in, regardless of the character. And you have such range anyway, which you've already shown, playing a Who on stage, playing the Joker as part of the web series, and then moving on to Art. What are you hoping for next for yourself after Art? Are you hoping for any sort of specific type of role? Would you like to develop another character? Would you rather just have it be a romantic comedy where you're running around the park holding hands instead of being doused with hundreds of gallons of fake blood?
No, I don't. I would do a romantic comedy, but I don't really think I'm like romantic comedy material. But I would love to do
yourself. Underplay yourself,
like a dream role.
Yeah. But I mean, like, comedy's always been my thing anyway, so I would really love to do some good comedies. I'd love to do a good screwball comedy, especially. That I miss those type of movies. I recently watched Rat Race again. And I was like, God, this is such a fun film. We haven't had films like that in a while. Or, the Austin Powers movies. Those are so much fun. I'm like, yeah, I would love to do something like that. But I already have 2 other movies in the pipeline right now. That one of them is with the Fuzz and Lens guys that have been helping out on the Terrifier films. They played the cops and the exterminator that I decapitated in Terrifier, but they're also working on Terrifier 2 with us. So they're starting their own, hopefully a whole new trilogy for them. It's called Stream, and I'm playing one of the main characters in that. So that I'm going to hopefully start filming that this fall with them. And then there's another film I'm going to be working on next year called Spirit Reckoning, which is a horror movie / Western. And I'm not playing the bad guy, though. I'm playing like the anti-hero character in this. This cowboy that is killed by the bad guys. He and his family are murdered, and he's hung and burned alive, and he comes back from the dead, and he's just a skull. So he's kind of like Ghost Rider, I guess, in a way, but not Ghost Rider. But it's a crazy movie. So he's going out and getting revenge against the guys that killed him and everybody else that gets in his way. So that's going to be a fun film too, and I'm going to be doing that with Lou Temple and Sean Patrick Flannery.
All right. Yeah, Lou Temple from the Walking Dead franchise. For people who don't know out there, definitely a Western style cowboy guy with the handlebar mustache and stuff. That sounds awesome. That sounds like
he's playing
Can't Stay Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Lou's playing one of the bad guys in it, so that's going to be exciting. Then Sean Patrick Flannery's going to be playing. He was from Boondock Saints. Yeah, and so many other things, but that's where I really know him from. But he's playing basically my best friend / mentor in this, so it's very exciting to get to work with those 2 guys, and I'm excited to see who else they cast in it as well. So, and plus, I've always wanted to do a Western, so I'm very excited about that too.
Do you have to ride a horse?
Oh yeah, I probably I used to ride horses growing up anyway, so it's just it's been a while. It's been probably about 20 years since I've been on a horse, but I imagine that's not going to be too much complicated,
It's just like a bike, which means at any time you can. It's just like a bike, which means at any time you can fall off and hurt yourself. But
yeah, exactly. I got that's all.
I really only have one more little segment. You are at the moment one of the most famous clowns walking God's green earth, and I wanted to see if we could get some of your thoughts on some historic clowns and on some other famous clowns. So allow me to first off remove this clown from the screen. I have to remove myself, and the first clown we're going to talk about is we're going to go all the way back. We're going to go back to somebody born in the 1800s, one of the first persons to popularize clowning in this country. His name is Emmett Kelly. His character, Wary Willie, is who you're looking at there, was based on real life hobos of the time. But the first thing I'm noticing is like the half blackface, and I'm a little offended.
Yeah, it's something else.
Oh no, that's not what that is. That's supposed to show like beard growth. Beard stubble.
But the white that's
Are you familiar with this character, David?
Oh yes, very much so. Very much
so.
He's
you
like
do your clown homework. You have done your clown homework. Okay, so silent clown. Is this colorized photo not doing him justice? Would he have been a black and white clown more so?
No. I mean, he was seen a lot because that time they didn't have when he was very popular, they didn't have color TV at the time. But no, that's what he did. He's such an icon. That look, the hobo look.
Yeah, it just doesn't look happy to me, but it looks slapsticky. It certainly looks enjoyable. The floppy brimmed hat. And just the general morose on his face, unfortunately. Back when hobos used to get hit by hammers.
Oh, yeah. He was always sad. Yeah, he was always sad. He was one of those, like, sad sack clowns. Everything would just go wrong for him, so.
All right, well, so you knew Emmett Kelly, all right.
Shtick is like, oh, yes.
All right, so let's go to this new one. This next clown. His name is Lou Jacobs. He is a 70-year veteran of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and apparently he works with animals. Do you think Art the Clown could ever work alongside some sort of trained mutt, maybe an attack dog, a mad pit bull or something?
I would love that.
Question.
That would be fun. Who knows? Maybe not necessarily like a dog or something like that, but he might work with some other animals, like more like vermin or something. I think that would make more sense with him. I think that would be funny.
Rats, snakes, perhaps some crows.
Rat?
Yeah, something like that, like a trained rat.
Now, would the rat also be?
That would be kind of funny.
Would you get?
Yeah, and you know the
too?
Rat and Art have the same letters in their name too.
There you go. There's
welcome to the new segment called Writer Better Movie, starring David Howard Thornton.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lou Jacobs. Now, clearly, he's got some
like
art,
Turner and Hooch, but different.
Art's got some head shape similarities with my man Lou here.
Yeah.
Do you think clowns as a species are genetically different than humans? We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Our next
guess
clown,
so, yeah, because
coming
everything's a little bit more exaggerated. Bozo.
Everybody knows who Bozo the Clown is. There was a different Bozo, I think, in everybody's different TV market.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually on a Bozo the Clown television show on Mother's Day 1988 here in New England. It was one of the most horrible experiences of my life. Did you enjoy Bozo the Clown?
I did. I watched the WGN version, the Chicago one that had his TV show on.
That's the OG.
I grew up on that Bozo the Clown that showed in my hometown. Yeah, he actually came. Bozo, that version of Bozo came to Huntsville when I think it was 1988 when he came to Huntsville, and I got to go on stage with him.
Oh, that's fantastic! Did you play any of the games? Did you
Did
you throw the ball? Yeah, the ping pong balls into the bucket.
I didn't get to. I wanted to play the grand prize game, but another kid got to do it. But I was like, oh man!
You sit there and just get mad at you're like, how are you missing these shots? You're right there.
Just lean over and drop it in the.
I'm like, dude.
You? All right, let's keep it moving here.
You want to have that kid that would miss the very first bucket. It was just like, what's wrong with you?
Right there. Just drop
Nobody's eating lunch with that kid.
Right
that's what I know. Nobody's eating lunch with that kid.
You. How did you miss that? You could just go plunk.
Our next clown, you may not recognize. His name is Kent McCoy. Kind of a blandish clown. He's got the tight clown afro going on, not so floppy, not very colorful. It may help if you see him from a little later. He started as a birthday party clown and ended up turning into Cloyne in Eli Roth's movie Clown. In that film, the clown's power was derived from his costume and his getup. How much of Art's power comes from his appearance, comes from his ability to disarm people in advance, do you think? Do you think any of his power comes from his actual clowning?
Oh, I think so. I definitely think so, because that puts people at ease. It's, that's his way of luring people in. It's just that little bit of playfulness. Like, oh, he's fun. Okay, he's not going to hurt me. Then bam.
Yeah, like
Get you.
That guy, I'm not too worried about. I don't think he's going to hurt me. I don't think anything bad's going to happen. That's just a guy trying to make his son happy who found a terrible costume in his basement. And then you got this guy who clearly is trying to eat any or all of my body parts. And I'm not trying to deal with him either.
That's the
Speaking of eating body parts, one of the most famous clowns, especially from the horror genre, the original Pennywise, made famous on television, no less, by Tim Curry. Do you think he had a harder job being terrifying than you did, considering he couldn't just cut people in half, given the TV ratings department of the 1980s and early 90s?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Because, there's only so much you can show on TV, especially when you've read the book and the things that he does in the book. That just shows how great Tim Curry is, because there's so many people that are afraid of clowns because of that TV series, because of his portrayal of Pennywise. It's like, and it's funny to me going back and watching it now. I'm like, it's not really that scary to me, but I can see how it would be scary to other people.
Yeah, definitely.
It was certainly nerve-wracking for me as a kid, living in Maine for part of my childhood, and knowing that there are actual places that inspired the locations within the book, and Maine is the type of place where there might be a motherfucker lurking in those sewers. Here is the updated version of Mr. Pennywise. I still have refused to sit down and give up the time to watch it parts 1 and 2.
Oh, you should. They're fun.
Now, these Pennywises, albeit different in appearance, different in, actors. What else is different about them?
Well, it's just like he's definitely more vicious in this. They're able to go with the gore in this a lot more than they could in the originals. So yeah, I definitely have to give a little tip of the tiny hat to Bill Skarsgård as well for taking on this role and making it his own, because he had literally big shoes to fill from what Tim Curry already brought to the character. He did his own thing with it, which was fantastic. Like, one of the things I love what he can do with his eyes, he can like move his eyes independently of each other, and it's really freaky. I'm like, I wish I could do something like that.
Oh,
that's like just.
I thought that was CG.
No, that's actually him doing that.
Oh wow. That makes
Nah, sir. Nah, you gotta leave. I'd be like, sorry, man, you gotta leave. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
You're not allowed. You're not. No, we can't have you doing that. I know that there are some purists like myself who like Tim Curry, but I mean, you gave Skarsgård the tip of the hat there. I figure you got equal parts old Pennywise and new Pennywise in you, with the way that Tim Curry was able to connect to those kids and nearly disarm them in those same ways. He did it with his one-liners and his words. You do it with your facial expressions and stuff like that. And let's see, I got one more clown. This one getting famous, more recently. You may not be too familiar with him. Apparently his name is Daniel Hernandez, and you're going to be able to not see him anywhere performing his clown stuff except for the internet. What do you think about this type of clown? Very colorful. Took to writing things on himself. It's a new style. I know that. I know some old school clowns aren't really cool with it.
What did his mom do something to a bag of Skittles or something? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, bless his heart.
He's the offspring of the dragons from Dragon Tales, because he just likes to tell tales. And I could go with the rat joke, but I don't have any Stuart Little clips loaded up right now, and it's unfortunate.
You dirty rats.
David, you dirty rats. I appreciate you playing along with our little game, David. If you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, let the heads out there know how they can catch up with you on social media, they can stay up with these projects, and how they can support you and your art through this quarantine, through this COVID era.
Yes. Well, I'm on both Instagram and Facebook under David Howard Thornton, so you can find me there. And also, because of the quarantine and stuff like that, I can't do conventions right now, but I do cameo videos where I can record, personalized recordings and stuff like that for people. I've been doing a lot for Mother's Day, oddly enough. I was like, Happy Mother's Day from Art. But yeah, I sometimes throw on my Trick or Treat Studio mask and stuff like that, so that's a lot of fun. I charge the same as I charge for an autograph too, just $30 for that. So
are those masks out? Are those masks available? I know they were coming. Do you have an advance, or are they actually available?
Oh, they're out. They came out last year
already. All right, okay. I thought they weren't coming out to this fall. I thought they weren't coming out to the fall. The actual.
I think they're releasing a new version of it maybe this fall with blood and stuff like that on it. So that's gonna be cool. Because I know some people have been doctoring them up and like putting blood and blood splatters and everything.
There are some good art cosplayers. There's one guy running around who's living it, and he's fucking scary.
Oh yeah.
It's one thing if it's your job to be Art the Clown. It's another thing to be like, this is my hobby to be Art the Clown. It's two separate things entirely. Well, Dustin, I don't know if you got anything to add, but I appreciate your time and taking the time here to join us, David. And
thank you. No problem.
Everybody checks you out, checks out Terrifier 2, enjoys this quarantine time to hit up Netflix and watch the original Terrifier and see if they haven't what all the fuss is about. It's definitely a movie that tore people one way or another. They either love it or hate it. It is as
they're split over it
as it is beautiful. They are split over it. Pun in fucking intended. Round of applause for you. You know what? Actually, we're gonna give you the big round of applause. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon.
Yes.
And till next time, everybody.
Yeah.
This has been Astronomic Conversations.